You see, I finally found out that I had to pick a song before I come and train. I didn't know that that worked out, and I was looking for something very inspiring. And to me, this is very inspiring. To not do anything every day. Isn't residual income a beautiful thing, you guys, right? All right. Cool, so first of all, there's a lot of people here. I was expecting not too many people to come with the weather. Obviously, this was completely crazy. Here's what I love. We've been talking backstage about this a lot with the co-founders. This is the event that many years from now, we're all going to be talking to each other about how we got to Charlotte. Do you remember how you got to Charlotte? It's going to be, can you guys feel that a couple of years from now, we're all going to be talking about how we got to Charlotte? You guys feel that way as well? Because this is the kind of weekend where lives are going to be changed. And for those of you that are here for the first time, I want to give you guys a huge round of applause for getting here. So please stand up. All of the people that are here at their very first international event. Let's give a big round of applause, you guys. Wow. You guys actually came here just out of belief. You guys came here based on what somebody told you. Was it worth it to go through the journey to come here so far, yes or no? All right, you guys. Well, you are the people that I want to speak to first, because all the other people, we already know each other. But for all of you guys, we don't know each other yet, so let me introduce myself. This weekend already, you've heard some incredibly inspiring stories from tremendous leaders. They told you their reason why. They told you, why they got into business, how they got into business, the challenges they had. And I always get very inspired by all of those stories. I'm kind of like the black sheep of all of those people, okay? And now let me tell you why. Because I did not have all those challenges. I'm not like the most inspiring person when it comes to, my childhood, all of that. I had great parents. They encouraged me. Nobody told me I would never make it. I was really lucky growing up. And I remember when I actually saw network marketing for the very first time, what I was thinking. And I remember the entire story. And I'll be honest, my initial reason why, when I first started, it changed with time. But my initial reason why was just to make a lot of money. Did anybody else feel that way when they saw this for the very first time? Now, things changed, okay? But at the beginning, that was my reason why. And I remember going to one of my first trainings, and the guy at front of the room talking about a reason why and all that. And I was thinking like, I don't know, I'm looking for it, and I didn't really know what. And when I went to ask him for advice, he told me, what is the reason why you're doing this business? And I told him to make a lot of money, And he tells me, you got to be more precise than that. I said, okay, to make a lot of money, is that more precise, And then he said, but if you make a lot of money, what are you going to do with all this money? I don't know. I was like, I don't know. Walk around and do nothing all day? How about that? This is what I truthfully enjoy to do, And this guy was like, well, when you get tired of doing that, aren't you going to look for something else to do? I was like, I don't know. Get on a plane, go to another country, walk around and do nothing all day there. Maybe, I don't know. For my first 6 months or a year in the business, I really didn't have this big reason why. I just wanted to make money. And I believed that it was possible based on what others had accomplished. So I went out and I was really working hard at that. I'll tell you how I got introduced to network marketing. Actually, it's kind of a funny story. I don't know if the person that introduced you to this business is someone you greatly respect, that you think is credible. I don't know what the story is in the relationship of you and your sponsor. But the person that introduced me to network marketing, you see, at the time, I was 19 years old. I had never had a job in my life. I was a student. I was $25,000 in debt. I had an R9 credit rating, which probably here in America works differently, but in Canada, for those of you that are from Canada, does anyone know what an R9 credit rating is? You people need to listen very carefully to the training, okay? Wasn't very good. So I was just looking for a way to make some money, and I ended up meeting this total stranger. It wasn't a friend of mine, it wasn't a person I had great confidence, it was a total stranger. And I'm from Montreal, where everybody speaks French. Is there a lot of people here that are from Quebec? And this guy didn't speak a word of French, and he asked me this question exactly like this. He goes, hey, bro, do you want to make some money, man? And me, I was like, what? He's like, do you want to make... My whole life I heard one guy talk like him before. It's Tony Montana in the movie Scarface, So I don't know if you trusted the person that showed you this business, but the guy that showed me this business, the only person in my whole life that I could relate him to was a Cuban mafioso, So I sat down with this guy in a coffee shop. He showed me the business. I don't know what the reason why you join is. And it's funny because a lot of time people stop me and they ask me, Simon, you know, you've been in this business for so long, 10 years, Circle of Champions. You've done all of this, you know, SVP this, that. What is your secret? When you first started and you saw this, what was your defining moment? How did you know that you should join this business? How did you know that this was the right thing to do? And I remember exactly like it happened, because when they asked me this, I feel like saying, well, you know, Sally, I'm a visionary, you know? I saw this thing happen. But the truth is, when this Tony Montana guy showed me the business, I remember the guy was yesterday, he was drawing circles on a piece of paper in a coffee shop. While he was showing me the business, I was thinking, I'm not gonna do that. That looks like such a stupid business. But what actually bothered me was when he said that it cost $500 to join this business. I thought to myself, even if I sell my car, I don't have $500 to join this business. Because I had a Chevette 1987, for those of you who know what that is. So I was like, okay, maybe I should listen more, and I'm not gonna do this still. And when he was done with his presentation, here's what actually convinced me. On his piece of paper, he wrote the following words. He wrote, unlimited income potential. And what actually convinced me wasn't even the words. What convinced me is that the guy made a spelling mistake in the word unlimited. And I remember thinking to myself, this guy could drive a Mercedes, because he showed up in a Mercedes, you know? So I'm gonna make a fortune with this. This guy doesn't even know how to spell, you know? And this is why I got involved. So maybe you guys are smart, maybe you have a scientific reason of why you decided to join. My reason was, this guy, I gotta do this, sounds awesome, right? And at the beginning, one of the things I used to think, I remember this, one of the problems I used to think about is, what is going to happen when I run out of people that I know? When I finish talking to all the people that I know, I'm gonna be done. Like, what am I supposed to do? Run ads, do different, like, I had no idea what to do. See, because the biggest fallacy, in my opinion, in this industry of network marketing, the biggest fallacy when people come in is that it's about who you know. See, it's not about who you know, and let me explain to you why it's not about who you know. Number one is because you're eventually gonna run out of people you know. And number two, I'm a living testimony by telling you this. I've been in this industry for over 10 years. I've had the incredible opportunity to have a team of well over 100,000 IBOs that joined my team and then grew. Many of them are a lot better that I could never be at this business. And all of those people that joined my team and that I saw over all these years, hundreds and hundreds of them, if not more, actually thousands, became TCs and like a big team, right? And every single time I look at all those people, I remember that there's not one person, imagine this, not one out of over 100,000 in my whole team that became a TC that is producing, that is doing well, that I knew before I got involved in this industry. Not one person. See, I don't know if that really, deserves an applause or whatever, but here's what I know. It doesn't matter what your brother, your sister, your mother, your cousin, your uncle, your this and that tells you. It doesn't matter. Because ACN has a system, and if you follow the system will allow you to find incredible people in this business. And a big component of this system is something I didn't even understand for the longest time. I was just doing with instincts. A big component is taprooting. And what is taprooting? The definition of taprooting really is finding leaders, levels. Let me see what I'm supposed to do here. Is this working? Oops. Yes, fantastic. See, it's all about thoughts and energy. Franco talked about it a second ago. I sent energy to the screen, right? Taprooting, guys, essentially is finding leaders, levels deep in your team's warm market. It's basically networking. So when people tell you it's about who you know, it's not about who you know. It's about the people that you get into the business. Who do they know? Who do they know? Who do they know? Who do they know? And if you effectively follow this system, even with people that don't join your business, if you effectively talk to people they know, and this is a science we're going to talk about here, you could build a large team. And let me explain to you why. See, ACN for me means one word. And this is the truth from the moment I joined. Our definition of that word is different for everyone here. but we all want it. ACN for me means freedom. It means freedom to do what I want, when I want, where I want, and with whoever I want, whenever I want. I think that's clear enough, okay? This is what I'm passionate about, freedom. And if you want freedom in this business, you need a big residual income check. And the only way you build a big residual income check long term is by achieving a position called Regional Vice President, and even more, Regional Vice President Platinum. Who in this room knows that they will be a Regional Vice President at one point in their career with ACN? And everybody seems to complicate all this stuff with all these theories and scripts. And look, at the end of the day, I think it's beautiful that it's awesome. No matter what you want to do it. But here's your goal at the end of the day. Your goal is to find 4 people, just 4, that will become a team coordinator and will want to grow long-term in this business. You want to find 4 people, and the beauty is this. You can find them at any level in your organization as long as they're in 4 separate legs, we call them. So you get one person started, that's like, if anybody at any point in that team becomes a team coordinator, great, you got 1 done. Your goal is to do 4 of these, and actually your goal is to identify many, many, many team coordinators in each leg. But this is your game plan right from the beginning. So the beauty is you can find these people anywhere. Now, how would you identify someone that should be your team coordinator? Because a lot of people here wonder, what's the strategy? Should I put my brother and my sister and my mother and build it for them? Here's the reality, you guys. The best way to become a real, powerful, income-earning, producing regional vice president is this. Find a minimum of 4 people that want to become team coordinator and RVP more than you want them to become team coordinator or RVP. If you're finding yourself wanting your person to become a TC more than they want to become a TC, you're working with the wrong person. Find another one. And when you found 4 of them that want to get there more than you want to, you won. And they're going to go by themselves and fly by themselves as long as you coach them and you direct them. And if you think that's complicated, think about this for a second. What is a team coordinator? A team coordinator is essentially a person that has 3 organizations of 200 customer points. So if you identify 3 people that want to become executive team leader, most executive team leaders have more than 200 customer points in their team. Let's have an exercise here. Who in this room is an executive team leader? Can you please stand up if you're an executive team leader? All right, let's give him a big round of applause. If you have more than 200 customer points in your team, please stay standing. Look around, guys. Help 3 people become, let's give them a big round of applause, you guys. Help 3 people become executive team leader and want to grow a team, and you're going to have 3 legs up there. And it goes simpler than this. What is an executive team leader? An executive team leader is essentially a person that helped 3 people become executive team trainer. And once again, this could be done at any level of your team. So basically, every training talks about this, but the basic building block of ACN is ETT. If you know how to become an ETT, and who here knows how to become an ETT, I want to hear you. Then all you got to do is help others become ETT, and you'll be ETL, you'll be team coordinator, you'll be regional vice president, and you'll win in this business as long as you duplicate that. But the best way to identify the people that will go up the ranks with you is by taprooting. And what kind of attitude do you need to have to taproot? The attitude that you need to have is, I work with people that deserve me. If you find yourself all the time working with people that don't want to work, you're the one trying to do everything for them. Look, keep on doing it until you find others that want it for themselves more than they want it for you, and those are the people that deserve your time. You build new relationships. What does this mean? See, when you introduce someone into the business, your first goal is as soon as possible. In my opinion, even more important than getting them qualified. As soon as possible, get in front of their people. Get in front of at least 1 person, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let me give you a tip that I've always used. Now, everybody does this differently, but here's how I do it. Every single time I launch a new person, so I'm doing this right now. I'm starting some new teams right now. When I sign up a new person, here's what I do. Let's say I sign you up today. When I launch you, I know that everyone is different. So what I do is I look at the person when I'm launching them, and I look them right in the eyes, and I ask them a very simple question. I say, who is the first person that you thought of when you saw this opportunity? And when they give me a name, I stop everything right here. I rehearse a little bit how to call this person, and I say, let's call them right now. Before they make a list, before they make anything, let's call them right now. My goal is to get in front of one person right away within 24 hours. After I got the first person, and I know that I have at least one person I could talk to, because if you do that, you never run out of people. I ask a second question. Who is the second person that you thought about when you saw ACN? And when they give me the second name, great, let's call them right now. And I book a second appointment. I prepare them a little for rejection, and I book a second appointment. And then I ask a very simple question. I go, who is the third person that you thought about when you saw the ACN business? And when they give me a name, I go the same all the time. I look at them like this. Wow, you know a lot of people. And I say, let me ask you a question. Do you want to go slowly and average in this business? Or do you want to go fast and beat records in this business? And when you ask something like this to somebody, what are they going to answer you, A or B? B. So when they say I want to go fast, it's the best way to do this, and that's when I make a list, that's when I sell the PBR. I want to make sure that no matter who I sign up, I get in front of at least one person quickly. Because the secret of taprooting is to always get a recruit for a recruit. The faster you can get a recruit for a recruit, the faster your team is going to grow. Another key in the attitude you need to have as a taprooter is to get your people paid by working under your existing leaders. What does that mean? My goal when I sign up a new person, check this out, is to make them money despite them. How about that? I don't want them to understand everything. I just want to make them a check with a comma in it as fast as possible, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, so they can have a story. And by doing that, you could grow a big team. Let them learn stuff later. So I work with people at any level. As soon as I identify one, let's go make a check and build checks for your organization. If you take care of them, it will take care of you. And always think long term. Always think long term. What does that mean? I was talking about that with Mr. Provenzano backstage right before this training. I was telling him this. See, when I do a presentation to someone, a one-on-one, a PBR, whatever, when I talk, I'm not thinking about signing them up. I'm not thinking about what's going to happen if they sign up, if they get qualified. I don't think about that. I think about every single word I use when I sign them up. And I think if they listen to a recording of my presentation 10 years from now, are they going to tell me I lied to them, or they're going to tell me I told them the truth? My goal is to sign them up for 10 years from now, not sign them up for today. Because in this business, it's all about longevity. That's what builds your credibility, you guys. You want long-term leaders? People ask that all the time. Then the people in your team need to know that whatever you told them 10 years ago is the same thing you're telling them today. Always think long-term. So the most important skill you develop while taprooting, while recruiting, is sorting. You always need to sort. And while you're sorting, going through people, you hear this in every topic, the most important question is, who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? See, you want to get in front of as many people as possible. I could do a one-on-one or PBR to somebody that doesn't sign up. And I say, thank you very much for your time. Who do you know that might be open to take a look at making more money? And I've signed up so many people from referrals of people who haven't even joined. Too many people are looking for ways to sign up people themselves all the time instead of gathering leads, basically, from their organization. The professional networker finds their leads, or whatever you want to call it, through their organization by taprooting properly. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Get in the habit of asking that, because your goal is to go through your business and find your 4 aces so you can be a regional vice president. And the way you're going to find those 4 aces is by sorting through people. And I repeat this all the time because I believe that this is the science of network marketing. This is what we do. Nobody in this room is going to go through the same career. Every single person here is going to have a different career. Look, when I signed up, I ended up signing up 19 IBOs personally in my first 6 months in the business. 6 months into this, I had 19 IBOs personally. But the 19 IBOs that I got in this business personally in my first 6 months, none of them got a single other IBO in the business. Most of them didn't even get qualified. Who feels better about their business now? I got 19, they got 0. I got 19, they got 0. And I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. But what I was doing wrong when I learned at my first international event is that I wasn't taprooting. I was putting them into this business hoping that they can go out and do this instead of making them money despite them by getting names from them, helping them do the work, generating result to get them into this business. When I understood that sign, things start getting better. But I gotta tell you, you're gonna go through stories, and every single one of us is gonna go through different stories. And those stories look like a deck of cards. And the reason they look like a deck of cards is because it never happens the same way for anybody. And today I'm gonna share some of the things that happened to me that allowed me to taproot properly to eventually build a pretty darn good organization, okay? So let's look at it. First person I spoke to when I started, maybe it's the same thing that's gonna happen to you. In my case, it was an 8. So an 8 is not an ace, if you're wondering. And what you're looking for is the aces. But you gotta go through some stuff to find your aces. So the 8 was a person I invited to the meeting. They didn't show up. I invited them to a meeting again. They didn't show up. I invited them to a meeting again. They didn't show up. The 4th or 5th time I invited them, I finally realized it's an 8. It's not an ace. Move on, next. The more you're gonna have the ability to move on to the next person quickly, the more money you're gonna make. Most people quit after the 8. And they say, I spoke to everyone I know. And they talk to one person. But look, you gotta talk to the next person, then you get a 7. The 7 I'll remember my whole life. One of my best friends to this day, when I first started, I called him, one of the first people I called him. His name is Hi. His name is still Hi, and I laugh about this all the time because his name is Hi, so every time I see him, I'm like, hi, hi, you know? But he's Armenian. I guess Armenian people have people named Hi. I don't know, okay? So I called this guy. He said, hi, I saw where we can make money. This is great. I met this guy at Dunkin' Donuts. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was just getting started. I sit down with Dunkin' Donuts. I go, check this out, bro. This is you, and I draw a circle. And before I give him the name of the company, before I do anything, he slams his hand on the table. He goes, don't do this. I'm like, don't do what? He goes, don't do this. I'm like, bro, you don't even know what it is. He goes, yeah, I do. My aunt did something like this. She lost $50,000. And me, I was brand new, a little naive. I'm like, what did she do? She signed up 1,000 times? What did she do? You know what I mean? And the proof you don't need to be too smart in this, but it took me 10 years to realize you'd only need to sign up 100 times. The next person you talk to is a 4. After the meeting, I remember this guy. He's like, I'm in. Come and train me tomorrow. He fills out the form. I drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to his house. I get to his house. I ring the doorbell. All the lights are on. I ring the doorbell. All the lights go off. This doesn't happen to you. You'll never be successful. Then you talk to a 2. You do a one-on-one in a Starbucks. And in the middle of your presentation, the manager of the Starbucks comes to tell you, you're not allowed to run an illegal pyramid scheme in my Starbucks. Get out of here. And if this does not happen to you, you're not working hard enough. Next person you talk to is a 3. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. As a matter of fact, he saw a video on me on YouTube. He told me, I can't believe you tell this story about my mom. But the reality is this. My first PBR, I didn't even know I was doing a PBR because nobody told me I had to do a PBR. I didn't go to training. I thought it's better to talk to a lot of people at once instead of one person at a time. I guess it makes sense. So I invite a lot of people. I invited 60 people to my first PBR. Not bad. I thought that was simple. Most people today don't do it. I don't understand why. But I invited 60 people. I was pretty bad at it. Only 20 people showed up. From the 20 that showed up to my first PBR, 2 signed up. I got depressed. But one person ran to the front of the room, one of my best friends. He goes, this is amazing. We're going to make money. We've been looking for a way to make money together for such a long time. I love you. We're hugging. We're happy. He fills out the application. He goes, I'm going to call you tomorrow or call me. Give me a training. I'm excited. I'm going to meet him the next day. Next day, I don't have a time to call this guy. My phone rings, my cell phone. I answer the phone. I go, hey, Vince. But it wasn't Vince. It was his mother. It's not Vince. It's Denise. Hey, Denise, how are you? Not good. Why? You brought my son to see a thing last night. Yeah, cool. You want to do it too? Or you know what I'm saying? No, I don't want to do it, and I don't want him to do it, and I don't want you to do it either. I'm like, why? She goes, because I did my research. I'm like, oh, cool. What'd you find out? Because I didn't do mine, you know? And she goes, they're lying to you. She hasn't even seen a presentation this. She goes, they're lying to you. I go, really? What are they saying? They're telling you you're going to be a millionaire. They're telling you it's going to be easy. I did my research. Less than 1% of people ever become millionaires in network marketing. They're lying to you. They keep on. And while she kept on saying this, I'm thinking, what? I can make $1 million doing this? Are you kidding me? 3, out of the way. Next, some people are thinking, when are you going to get to the... This is the point. This is the business. If you're fed up of hearing this right now, imagine what's going to happen in the real life. This still happens to me today. You talk to the 6, guys. You talk to the 6. And when you talk to the 6, this happens to a lot of people in big cities. If you're in a small city, it won't happen. In a big city, it happens. The guy after the meeting comes to see you. He goes, this is amazing. He goes, but you know what? And you say, what? He goes, my uncle's, cousin's, brother's, uncle's mother is the sister of the best friend of the king of Zimbabwe. Can we open up Zimbabwe? Can we call the owners and open up Zimbabwe? We're going to make, yeah, man, take their cell phone. No problem. Give him a call. Get this guy out of your way. Just make sure you get his contact list for whenever we open up Zimbabwe and give him a call later on. Oh, then you get the joker. The joker comes to your meeting, and at the end of your meeting, he looks at you and he goes, let me show you a real deal. He's in another MLM trying to get you in his. I hate the joker. Next person you get is a 9. And here's the key to taprooting. Say, I remember the 9. I was starting in this business. This is when I recruited 19 people that nobody did anything. And then I went to my best friend in the world. He actually signed up and he did nothing. And I looked at him and I said, bro, who do you know? And he told me, I don't know anyone that would be interested in this business. And I said, no, come on, man. Who do you know? He goes, I don't know anyone that would be interested in that business. And when he said that, his little brother was in the room. And his little brother goes, what business? Some people wonder why their business is not growing, right? Let me talk to you about this. I sit down with him. I show him the business. He goes, this is awesome, but he didn't have the money to sign up. But I needed to meet people, so I said, introduce me to some people. The next day, he brings me a friend of his called Freddie. And this Freddie guy comes to this presentation. He looks at the presentation, and at the end he goes, this is awesome, but he doesn't sign up. And he brings me a few friends of his at a restaurant when I'm sitting around the table. And when I show this business to a few friends around the table at a restaurant the next day, there's a guy sitting at this table that signs up on the spot who was a security guard in a parking lot called Viken Atala, who's a regional vice president platinum today in this business. So I got an ace. This is not an ace. I got an ace. But then I continue. And I asked Viken, who do you know? And Viken at the beginning, he wasn't really working hard. He wasn't really into this. But he eventually found a friend of his that got into the business called Andre. Now, Andre got in, and a year and a half, now he was a collection agency guy. He was like calling people to get their money, basically. And he's sitting next to a guy at this collection agency place or whatever, and doesn't talk to him for a year and a half. He's sitting next to the same guy. But a year and a half later, he probably is shaking, I don't know, and he looks at you, do you want to make money? So this guy comes, sees a presentation, he wants to sign up. Viken calls me, he goes, Simon, I need your help. I've been struggling lately. I lost my self-confidence. Can you come and help me? We're going to do a PBR together. Come on, bro, you know how to read the sheet. Can you come and help me? All right, man, I'm going to come. He says, it's going to be a great PBR. There's going to be a lot. So I go with him to go to this PBR. And I love Donald Trump when he says, sometimes you really don't feel like doing something, but that's when you need to do it because it could be the biggest result you've ever had in your life. I remember that day how I didn't feel like going there. And I got into the car with Viken, and we go over there. And, you know, I was driving a Bentley, so you like a nice car. You go to this PBR, right? And I get to this building that was falling into pieces. And when I get to this building, I didn't even know that there's a building like this in Montreal, you know? Like the Abboud or everything. Like when you're walking, like, ooh, like I'm scared. I'm scared to walk into, I think maybe I'm going to get shot. How about that, right? And we get into this building, and we go into this tiny apartment. And we sit down, we get to the apartment, and I was expecting like 20 guests or whatever. We walk in, there's only 3 or 4 people that are there. And they were invited the worst way in the world. All of them are looking at me, they go, what is the rate to Pakistan? What is the rate to Pakistan? I'm like, how do they even know we sell long distance? You know, like, how are they like, whatever. So I'm waiting, and I'm getting, sorry for my vocabulary, but a little pissed off at Viken because he made me come to this PBR, you know? Didn't prepare it right. So I'm sitting, 45 minutes late we start. Don't do that, okay? But that day, we waited. Didn't have another one afterwards. 45 minutes later, these people show up at the PBR, right? And they come in storming, they sit down, and I am so mad that I stand up and I go, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to an incredible, and I introduce Viken, I make him do the PBR, you know? So he stands up to give this PBR. He does this sheet of paper in a couple minutes because he's thinking we're wasting our time here, you know? When he's done, I didn't even realize that the host hadn't even signed up yet. The host comes to the middle of the presentation. Nobody's signing up. Everybody's like frigid like this. The host comes to the middle of the presentation. He stands up. He goes, "What are you thinking about? This is not something to think about. This is something to do." And he signs up. And he signs up a couple people at the PBR. Something, oh, cool. This ended up being a good PBR, but I have no idea what I'm expecting from this. This host was the collection agency guy that got recruited by this guy a year and a half later. Now, this collection agency guy gets into the business. And a couple of months later, invites one of his friends from a city 6 hours away in Montreal driving distance, which is Toronto. Anybody here from Toronto or Ontario? So this guy drives to Montreal from Toronto, sits down in a Tim Hortons. For those of you that don't know, that's a coffee shop in Canada. And we sit in the Tim Hortons and show the presentation. When this guy finishes seeing the one-on-one, he goes, okay, we don't even know if he's going to sign up. He goes back to Toronto, he signs up. 2 weeks later, this guy signed up 20 new IBOs in the business in Toronto. And we're like, what is he doing? And we're afraid to call him because we don't want to mess him up. You know what I'm saying? But this guy finally calls and he says, I need your help. I say, cool, man. You want us to come there? He goes, no, I'm coming to Montreal. Okay, cool. So he drives to Montreal. We sit down with him in the same coffee shop when we're like, what can we do to help you? He goes, you left me with one Success from Home magazine. And I signed up 20 people. Imagine what I could do if you give me 20. So now, I'm like, do you want 50, man? Or like, whatever. Goes back home, signs up some people. I'm wrapping up this story here, but it comes to an important point. So he signs up some people, and out of all the people that he signs up, he finally signs up an insurance broker. So this guy was a building janitor. Now he gets an insurance broker into the business. The insurance broker, here's how he invited him, okay? He invited him as a friend. The guy came to see the business. The insurance broker got in. The insurance broker called his other friend, insurance broker. So now the other friend, insurance broker, was not interested to come and see the presentation. But he was his client. So he tells his insurance broker, if you don't come, I'm going to cancel my policy. So the guy says, well, now I'm interested, right? So he comes to the presentation because he was afraid to lose his policy. And when he comes to the presentation, he got amazed. He signed up today. His name is Kudus Ahmed. He's a Circle of Champions member and a Regional Vice President Platinum, all right? Now check this out. Kudus gets into the business. He's having a hard time at the beginning. As a matter of fact, his upline quits and everything's quitting on him, right? And he keeps on going. He eventually recruits an immigration consultant in Toronto. She's working at an office. She's a great lady, by the way. She's working at an office, and she receives a phone call from someone in the UK that is paying for the paperwork of their family to come from India to Canada. So he's paying, and she says, are you interested to make money to pay for whatever you're paying right now? From Canada to the UK. The guy says, they do a presentation over the phone. Wrong presentation, okay? But after the presentation, this person in the UK signed up. He was struggling in the business for a long time. He eventually said, what can I do to get good at this? I'm like, I don't know, fly to Canada, right? So he came to Canada, and he came to see an event that we did in Toronto that had thousands of people there. And he left amazed, and he left believing. And he started coming to international events and gained this belief. And after he came to Canada, got the belief and the international events, for 5 years he's doing this business. 5 years in the UK, struggling. For 5 years. After 5 years, he gets a breakthrough. His team starts putting in 50 people a month, 100 people a month, 200 people a month, 500 people a month, 800 people, 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month. This guy is now the #1 RVP in the world of ACN. He's a Circle of Champions member. His name is Jamaluddin. He's right here. And this just came. Let's give him a big round of applause, you guys. Right? Jamaluddin, the #1 RVP in the world right now. Unbelievable. In his team, he has the top 5 regional directors in the world right now in his team, right? Crazy leadership, great leaders in his team. And this came from Taproot. So the moral of the story, you guys, in closing, is you got to keep a book of no's. Everybody that tells you no, you keep their name and number. You call them back a few months later. How are you? How are you? And they're going to ask you, how's your phone thing? And when they ask you, how's your phone thing, you say, not bad. Here's what I made last month. Boom. And then you get them into the business. Follow up with your no's. You're going to sign up people 4, 5, 10 years later, because the key to this business, guys, is longevity equals credibility. Longevity equals credibility. I'm going to leave you with this thought. I've been in this business for 10 years. If you don't believe this is a long-term business, last month was by far the single biggest production month our organization has ever had in 10 years in this business, and it happened last month. And check this out. This month, we're already at 50% of last month's production, and it's going to exceed this month. I am not responsible for that. But when you taproot and you find some amazing leaders, like Matthew Ambroise, Matthew Lamontagne that you guys have heard, like Jamaluddin, like Kudus Ahmed, Maxime, I don't want to name because I always forget names. I love all of you guys. But your organization will never cease to amaze you as long as you don't quit, as long as you put one foot in front of the other, as long as you believe in the vision and the integrity of ACN. We are not in this company for a few years, guys. We are here to build a business that will exceed our lifetime, our kids' lifetime, their kids' lifetime. We are here to change the industry of direct sales as one team called ACN. Who's in this team with me, you guys?